Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello. Hi. Hello. Jeez. I think I began the show yesterday sort of like this. Discombobulated and not quite ready. Hello there. How you doing? Staying warm, I hope. I'm so sick of talking about the weather. I can't see straight. Anyway, it's cold everywhere. It's even cold in St. Louis where Susan is. So, Susan, hello.
Wait, you're doing the audio version of Kramer entering a room.
Is that what that sounded like? Gee whiz. God, I'm so sick of this weather hype. I can't see straight. Oh, I mean, it's cold.
It's cold.
It's really cold. It's not
Put
all
a
that
face
cold.
mask on. Wear a muffler.
You know what? You know what's weird? Because I just, walked out in it. And it just
Doesn't feel a whole lot different to you.
No, it didn't seem that cold. And I thought, well, you know why? Because they hype. And in your head, you're thinking, I'm about to walk into something so frightening, so deadly. Oh, my God, help me. And you walk out and it's cold. All right. Susan.
Yes.
How cold is it in St. Louis?
Oh, well, here, let me just click on my
weather,
my handy weather app here, and I will give you right up to the date information. It is 6 degrees.
Oh, boy. Well,
but there's no wind.
Yeah, right. I'll take
So it remains 6 degrees. I went out this morning, and I knew it was cold. I go out at 5:30 every morning to pick up the newspaper.
Yeah.
And, on a regular winter St. Louis day, I might just throw a coat on and slip my bare feet into, some...
Right.
Half the time just my slippers and walk down my long driveway and back up. But I knew it was cold out, so I put a hat, a scarf, socks, and shoes, and I went out, and guess what?
You were warm.
I was warm.
Yeah.
I thought, actually, I stopped to admire the beautiful... The sky is so beautiful just before
the
dawn when the stars seem really, really bright.
Uh-huh.
And the moon is really, really brilliantly bright, and it's just fun to stand there and look at it. And I did this morning. So how cold could it have been?
How cold could it have been? Well, here, I just checked here. Right now in Pittsburgh, it's 4 below. So
we're 10 degrees warmer than you.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'm sick of it. But you know what? I was so proud of myself. I figured out last night, I heard, I was looking through my Twitter account, and I saw in the news that the city had said there would be no garbage pickup today because they didn't want the garbage guys stuck outside all day. And I thought, well, okay. I was feeling sorry for them anyway, so I'm glad. I'm glad they don't have to go out. Then I thought, oh, wait. If they took the garbage guys off, they took the meter maids off. So I thought, I'm driving downtown tomorrow, and I'm parking right on the street, and I'm not paying a penny. I betcha. I had no doubt about it. So I get up this morning. I sleep in a little bit because driving down I'm in my car. I turn on the local news, which is a local loudmouth talk station. And they're saying that the city announced that they gave the meter maids the day off. And so there'd be free parking downtown. And I thought, oh, damn. Because by the time I get down there, there's not going to be any spaces left. Which is exactly what happened. So then I thought, well, heck, if they're not... So you know what I did? I parked in a loading zone. I hope that...
Well...
A cop could give me a... But
at least you didn't park in a handicap spot.
Right, and I didn't park in front of a fire hydrant. I parked...
Why are you assuming that other people aren't going to need their loading zone?
Because there was still enough space. You could load. I could tell you could load. I know exactly. I did not impede. It's in front of a restaurant, and they unload a lot of food stuff. And there's no way. I would not have done it if I were. And I'm only here for now. I'll run out and get lost. But why even announce that? Because they could have made money if people drove down and not realizing still plugged the meters. So why would you do that if you're a cash-strapped city? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think the proper thing is to do there? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, there's so much news today, and I
don't have to print anything else out.
Well, so you know, it's 12 below in Chicago this morning.
Okay.
People's cars don't want to start, but
Okay.
otherwise it's just cold.
It's cold. All right.
That's
fine.
Chicago reporting in.
Okay. That's fine. Okay, before we get to anything, there is a full-page ad in the New York Times today. It is the last page of the first section, so this is a huge placement. And you can see, I'm showing it on TV, and you see he's an executive standing with his arms folded, and it's one of those, where you're about to be given, whatever some spin doctor wants us to know. So I thought, what is this? Because I thought it had a clever headline, an open letter to everyone with mouths. So I thought, well, okay, I'll start reading this. Now listen to some of this, okay? As I ended up doing research. This is written by the guy standing there looking at us is Buck Marshall, believe it or not. He says, the sustainability crowd often criticizes my clients in industrial agriculture for failing to acknowledge the hidden costs associated with their heroic efforts to feed the world. I'd like to take this opportunity to set the record straight. In fact, let's just put a new record on, because this sustainable agriculture tune has been playing long enough. And when that music suddenly stops, not only will you not find a chair, there won't be a dinner table either. Everyone will just stand around starving. Well, that's the first paragraph. I read that and I thought, whoa. First of all, I think it's cleverly written, but are you kidding? Then I went on. Well, shall I go on?
Yeah.
The public is concerned that our industry's dependence on fossil fuels and the overuse of antibiotics, synthetic growth hormones, herbicides, and pesticides is unsustainable. So-called experts claim that it takes 25 calories of fossil fuel energy to produce just 1 calorie of meat on a typical industrial farm. Well, that is just absurd. It's less than half that amount when farmers feed their livestock petropellet from Animoil. Animoil is just one example of the innovative industrial agribusiness committed to making food affordable at any cost. That's when I thought, okay, wait a minute. Making food affordable at any cost? So I thought, is this a joke? Is this a full-page joke? I cannot, for the life of me, comprehend what I'm reading here. Okay, I'll go a little bit more, okay?
Okay.
Furthermore, if there really were hidden costs associated with industrial agriculture, wouldn't my clients charge you for them? And if sustainable agriculture is so sustainable, why are family farms disappearing at the rate of more than 300 per week? If we aren't careful, the sustainability crowd will regulate away our right to cheap food. Take GMO labeling, for example. We all know labels are hurtful. What would you do if your child's elementary school teacher labeled your child dumb? You wouldn't stand for it, and neither did my parents. That's when I really stopped. I thought, this is a joke. This is a joke. These labels will only make people worry. And our studies show that worry leads to stress, and that can be dangerous to your health. Now, this is put out by the Industrial Food Image Bureau. And then I read the small print underneath it, and it's the Industrial Food Image Bureau making food affordable at any cost. So I Googled Buck Marshall. And I didn't quite come up with anything. Then I saw that the website that he puts below his name is called Farmed and Dangerous. And then I looked into it further, and do you know who's behind this? They're doing a whole web series on Hulu or something. It's Chipotle.
So they're aiming for quality.
Well, Chipotle makes a big deal about how they don't buy any of this hormonal crapola stuff.
About how they must be about to raise their prices.
Well, I don't know. It's clever as all get out. And I was thinking, you got to have a ton of money to do that. I'm going to look for this thing where I. Oh, it didn't print that out, huh? Oh yeah. Farmed and Dangerous. This is so clever. Chipotle Mexican Grill, and this is in actually just a few days ago, announced plans to launch Farmed and Dangerous, a Chipotle original comedy series that satirically explores the world of industrial agriculture. The initial 4-episode season will be presented weekly on Hulu and Hulu Plus. The show integrates Chipotle's values and commitment to serving food made with the highest quality ingredients through the content and themes of the show itself without any explicit Chipotle branding, which is exactly what this thing did. But I got to tell you, Susan, it's so clever.
That you wanted to find out who was actually behind it, so you found out.
Yeah, but it's not that, but it's just so clever that I think most people would sort of cursorily read this and not get the joke.
Yeah.
You know how you're reading real fast and you don't necessarily stop when somebody says, labels are hurtful. What would you do if your children's school teacher labeled your child dumb? You wouldn't stand for it, and neither did my parents. And then it turns out they made up this thing called petropellet. And they made up all of this stuff is made up.
God, petropellet sounded pretty real.
So, Farmed and Dangerous satirizes the lengths to which corporate agribusiness, making cheap food available at any cost. Is that funny or what?
Right. I have to say that of all that, about the only, quote, fast food, unquote, place I ever go anymore is Chipotle.
Really?
I think it's really good.
Jess, why are you looking like that?
This is Ray Wise.
Yes, it is. Oh, she's looking at the guy. Okay. She's looking at the guy, the so-called executive here. And he's a pretty well-known actor. You know him from Mad Men. You know him from Twin Peaks. You know him from 24. Ray Wise. That's who that is. I thought...
trying to figure out who that was.
But this is full-page New York Times back of the back of the front section. Now, you tell me that doesn't cost a pretty penny, but that's it. It's Chipotle, and it is a satire. And this is fascinating. Much of our marketing is aimed at making consumers more curious about where their food comes from. Well, look, I actually read this and then Googled stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Isn't that smart?
Whatever they did, it certainly worked with you, and maybe they're going for the person that is curious. And we do that now. They know that people now, when they want to know something, immediately Google it, and you did.
But I really wonder how many people, because I was sucked in. I was doing my usual cursory, what the hell? And initially, I thought this was just another, big agribusiness campaign. I fell for it initially.
See, and I think what's interesting about it is how television content and or what we think of as television content
Hulu
is delivered so differently now that suddenly the networks are nobody, because anybody can be a network.
That is correct. And you know what? I realized that last night I spent my evening beginning to watch a series that is a French television series that is fantastic. Somebody put me onto it, my friends, and I'm just watching it on Netflix on my computer. And I suppose if my son were here, he'd know how to hook it up to the TV, which I don't. But that's fine. I just sat there transfixed. And if there was anything on TV, it sure didn't get watched by me. And I'm an old person.
Well, it was, there was one whole day when Eric and I were in New York, and I didn't feel like leaving the room because it would just mean that dollars would be flying out of my pocket. And I sat in my perfectly beautiful room and just watch things that I would never otherwise watch on my iPad.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I don't usually use my iPad that way, but it was great fun.
So you go to New York and you lock yourself in your hotel room so you won't spend money?
I go to New York often enough that, and I'm old enough that I see a museum or two, and shopping holds no particular pleasure for me. I'm what's wrong with the economy.
Okay. No, you're just getting old. You have everything you need. So what the heck? Yeah, I just got your...
I mean, after you've bought the same thing, 18 times, and you just threw the first 5 iterations out of your closet, you don't feel like it's appropriate to spend more money.
Right. I just want to say thank you to everybody. So many of you. Yesterday, Susan, I was talking to Clarence, I think, and I wanted to say that he was, there was a noun for what he was to me. He's a very smart, educated guy. And I couldn't come up with it. What did I come up? I came up with polymath, which is not what I wanted. I mean, it's close, but it wasn't what I wanted. And I could not think of it, but a bunch of you have emailed me. Yes, the word I was looking for was autodidact.
Right.
Right. Which is a
self-educated
person. And without a doubt, some of the smartest people I have ever known are people who didn't even go to college but were autodidacts. They were people.
2 of my closest friends here are autodidacts, and one who served on the school board with me for years, and is a girl that was raised on a woman that was raised on a farm in southern Illinois, and went to work when she was 18, and who could hold her own with a lot of people on a lot of subjects.
So she just read and read and read.
Right. Well, and my other friend who dropped out of college and is probably one of the foremost experts in many kinds of arts and recognized as so. You just learn about it.
Yeah. So, like Clarence mentioned, Abraham Lincoln. I don't believe that.
Most people a lot of people used to be autodidacts.
Right. So, yes, autodidact, and thank you very much. I know there's some big local news here about the August Wilson Center, which is guys. If you had wanted to talk about that, Susan doesn't know about it, and I'm not gonna. And nothing's gonna change before tomorrow, so we'll talk about it tomorrow. Just so you know, I know. Okay, Susan, local story that has driven me crazy. I think it just happened a few days ago, and it was about a man. A 79-year-old man who all of a sudden says to his wife, because he was being treated for cancer, and he said, "I don't want to live anymore," and then he shot her.
Well, I'd call that one bad aim.
No, he shot her right in the. But I'm thinking when I first read that, I thought, well, okay, if you don't want to live anymore, fine. What'd you take her out for? And what happened is then he tried to kill himself. It was going to be a murder-suicide. He thought if he didn't want to live anymore, she should die. What kind of crap is that?
Well, her life must be over without him.
I guess so. Well, her life is over. And then the gun jammed, of course, and when he tried to kill himself, but as it turns out, he died in the hospital anyway. And I don't know if I don't know. I saw that he died, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry for both of them. But when I saw that his reaction to "I don't want to live anymore" was to kill his wife, it beyond belief. I just wanted to. I know you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, but I just wanted to say, what a jerk!
Well, there's a lot of that running around. I mean, I'm sure we don't need to talk about Mr. Huckabee anymore, but it's just amazing to me that they keep coming out with that stuff and the disrespect to women. And I'm really, really sort of tired of it.
What?
About these white men telling me that I don't need to be afraid of them. Bullshit.
So you got that from that to Mike Huckabee?
Yeah, if you listen to what he was saying there isn't a war on women. We aren't the war on women.
No, I know what he said.
That's
he says
what
something.
he
It is so silly.
Uncle Sugar.
No, he obviously is against birth control. He thinks if women only, I guess he was putting it out there for the rhythm method, I guess. What the hell was he talking about?
He was talking about how
he was being an idiot.
We shouldn't need birth control. We should just control our libidos. Yeah.
Well, what is it? I know. It's stupid.
I mean, I just don't understand why they would even continue to go through.
Yeah.
What do they think is in it?
Is in
and
what?
Aren't these men married to women?
Yeah. But the women they're married to are suffering from the Stockholm Syndrome.
Something. Shame on them.
All right. Shame on them. Well, I'll tell you what.
Or they're so ambitious for their husbands that they're willing to sell their own selves down the river.
I just...
and Mrs. McConnell can take a little, is that the governor's name, McDonnell?
Yeah.
She could do a little more of that.
Which one? Who are you talking about? In Virginia?
The governor's wife in the southern governor.
In
two
Virginia.
Indicted.
Yeah, and they're blaming it all on her desire for...
riches. Rolexes and dresses and stuff.
Yes. Oh, a pox on them all. I don't know. Just a pox on them all.
It's just,
Whatever. So
people behaving totally badly.
I want to say I've been beaten up on the Post-Gazette a lot lately, but I want to commend them, and I should have said this earlier when we started the show, that the above-the-fold headline in our local paper today I liked because first of all, it might help warm people up a little bit, but also it was true, and the headline was, you can't see that, "It's colder elsewhere." I thought that was a good one. To sort of just remind people that, yeah, he's cold. He's cold. We got to take a break. We got to take a break, guys. And we shall return.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Packers.
Vikings.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we make a real difference in the building blocks of life. Children succeed in school, families gain financial stability, the health of our neighbors improves, and suddenly so do our communities. Real change won't happen without you.
Live United.
So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up today at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Happy New Year from the all-new BergBargains.com. Log on today for the best exclusive deals from your favorite local restaurants, bars, and shows. Sign up for the weekly email update for your chance to win a $100 gift card from the Squiggly Spa. The all-new BergBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BergBargains.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Okay, welcome back. And now for a little bit of, comic relief. There was a piece in The Guardian. I didn't really see it anywhere else, but the Pope was standing on that balcony he stands on and the other day, and he and these small children who were with him released 2 white doves. Actually, the children, I believe, released the white doves and it was about to symbolize peace, right? And I think he was talking a little bit about, I don't know, all the horror in the world and all that. And then they released the white doves. And this is so as the doves start to fly over St. Peter's Square with tens of thousands of people watching, a seagull and a crow swept down and attacked. I'm sorry, but attacked the doves. Ripped their feathers out with all those children and people in front of the Pope. Susan.
They were unimpressed by the Pope.
Jeez. Oh, it was awful. It was horrible. And somehow the crow pecked repeatedly at a dove as one other dove. Some feather, they don't know. It wasn't clear if the doves survived the attack or not, since they tried to fight and were and whatever. So, the Pope was appealing for peace in Ukraine, and then the doves were released and immediately attacked.
Well, the Ukraine sent its message back.
God.
I always think these releasings of wild animals are not necessarily the smartest thing. I mean, inevitably they do it at weddings, and the birds poop on the guests. They release butterflies, and they smothered to death in the box.
Yeah. Stop it.
It's as apt to be a very bad omen as anything else.
Yeah, so I agree with you completely, and I just want to say to everybody, stop it!
Yeah, resist it. Leave the poor doves where they belong, and, they'll take their chances in their own neighborhood.
Really, leave them alone, and don't use them as props. Poor butterflies, poor doves, they can't help it if, we've put upon them all kinds of metaphoric importance. Just a bird and an insect, okay? There's plenty of other. Why don't you release cockroaches?
Yeah, because nothing kills them.
Right. Here's something I saw today that really made me very angry. This is a big shocker because it's a Supreme Court ruling. Who knew? I guess it wasn't big enough to make a big to-do about because I didn't see it anywhere. It's just in this little teeny thing. The Supreme Court yesterday, and I believe this was a opinion written by Justice Scalia, and I don't know what the vote was, but it said that workers do not have to be paid for the time they spend donning and doffing protective gear necessary for their work.
Well, why not? It's a part of their job.
Why would they be donning and doffing it?
Right. If but for the nature of their job, they wouldn't be putting it on, then I'd agree with them. But they aren't walking around in hazmat suits because it's attractive.
So all that stuff that a miner has to put on, and you mentioned hazmat, whatever, all that stuff. I bet it has more to do. I don't know who brought the case. I didn't look further into it. But, you can bet it's some, blue-collar thing where that might take a bit of time to get all the stuff on. And they don't want them to be able to punch the clock before. I guess they got to punch the clock after they put the stuff on and punch the clock before they take it off. That is ridiculous. It defies logic. But not
it sure does. It sure defies good legal reasoning.
Well, that's all I have on it, so I don't know. Workers do not have to be paid for the time they spend donning and doffing protective gear necessary for their work. What kind of a stupid, mean, penny-pinching ruling is that?
I can guarantee you that a doctor is charging you while he's scrubbing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I bet
I can guarantee you the hospital's charging you for the use of the scrub and the towel and everything else.
I bet
so it's just the laborer that is not allowed to charge for all the time it takes to do his job?
I believe that Justice himself was being paid when he put his black robe on and doffed it after.
Right. And you know why? Because he's a salaried employee.
Sickening. War on women, war on workers, war on you name it. These nasty Republicans never stop. They do not stop. All right.
It's amazing to me. I mean, the only thing that I can figure out is they really, really, really do want the revolution for which they've armed themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, they're upsetting enough people that pretty soon they'll revolt, and they're so confused they don't know who to revolt against.
Yeah. Jeez. Unbelievable. Okay, and finally, Susan, maybe, I don't know if you saw this, thank God, because I arrived at this conclusion long ago as my excuse for why I can't remember anything anymore.
Oh, I did? What?
Yeah. I said, well, it's because as you get older, your brain just fills up. You got so much...
That's right. It's not because we're demented. We're merely disorganized.
Right. It's like a closet that you can't find, you can't find the word, the name, because you have to get through so much stuff.
It's like the NSA information.
That's correct. So there's been a study done. And this study was done by two Joymans. And...
if anybody should know, it would be they.
I guess. I don't know. But first of all, here is a fact. Memory, the speed of your memory, the accuracy of your memory begins to decline at the age of, get this.
30.
It's even worse. 25.
25? I didn't read the whole thing. Okay.
25. It's downhill. So these scientists looked into it, and their research shows that it's too complicated to explain how they did it, but they said that since educated older people generally know more words than younger people, simply by virtue of having lived longer, the experiment simulates what an older brain has to do to retrieve a word. And as soon as you put that kind of, I don't know, I can't explain it. But apparently this isn't going to change anybody's mind, it says here in this article.
No, but I mean, I've always felt that way because I could almost feel it, that I'm going through files. I can't even figure out where I stored it. But I know if I just relax, it'll flutter down into my consciousness
Yeah.
in the next minute, week, day, month.
Yeah. It's like yesterday when I couldn't think of the word autodidact, but did come up with polymath. I was in the right drawer, but for some reason, I still couldn't find it. Now, there's also something interesting in this article. This is in the science section of the New York Times today. The other thing is there's two kinds, of memory. One is fluid, and the other is crystallized. Now, the crystallized stuff is the stuff that is just in there. It's the knowledge that we've retained, the expertise, the vocabulary, all of that. The fluid stuff is the short-term stuff. Okay? Now, I think my fluid memory is really not up to snuff at all. But I think my crystallized memory is pretty good. And they said crystallized memory, and they specifically note that if you're good at the New York Times crossword puzzle,
right,
you got good crystallized memory.
Right.
Yeah. And Susan and I are. And that crystallized knowledge climbs really sharply between the ages of 20 and 50. That must be when we accumulate most of our knowledge. And then it pretty much plateaus. So, but the fluid kind drops steadily starting at the age of 20. Fluid, like analytical reasoning, drops steadily by more than 50% between the ages of 20 and 70 in some studies.
See, I think I'm better at analytical reasoning now than when I was 20.
Yeah. But anyway, Suze, here's the thing. So, we're losing our voices, we're losing our minds. But it's now we can say, it's not that I'm stupid or slow, or my memory's down, or I'm getting demented. It's that I know so much that I simply can't find anything.
Yes. And we aren't speaking to the quality of what you know, merely the quantity.
Right. Exactly. Ooh.
I forgot to read the Science Times this morning.
Well, I think that was the one that we both would have.
Well, I only knew about that because my better half came running upstairs and
happily
waving
it.
News.
Waving it. See? We're not getting really, really demented. We're just smart. We know too much. It's quite the opposite. One of the first thing. Oh, wait a minute. Just trying to catch up on the email. Yes, Lynn and Susan, the Republicans are revolting. A line from Mel Brooks' History of the World. Sire, the people are revolting. You're telling me? They stink, too.
I can remember that one.
That's from David Muehlbauer. Thank you, David. Oh, gosh. Thank God for laughter. Now, I'm going to let me get a break in here right now. I'm a little bit early on it, but let's get our final break out of the way, and I want to come back and spend some time on the obituary of the day, which is a sad one. Okay?
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Download the brand new CP Haps app and find out what's going on in Pittsburgh. It's the fun and free app that puts the most popular events at your fingertips. Text events to 77948 to download now and register to win a Seven Springs overnight getaway, Alton Brown, or Brick Floyd tickets. The CP Hats ad, brought to you by Pittsburgh City Paper.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okie doke. Welcome back. So the sad news today is the news of the passing of just an extraordinarily, I think, great man, songwriter, mentor, activist, and gentle giant Pete Seeger, who lived a long he did.
He lived a very long life, and he
wonderful
lived
life.
it up to the very end. I mean,
Right.
he was still performing. I think the last time I heard him was within the last year.
Right. And, you know, I was thinking, I just sort of was thinking about him, and there were two adjectives that came to my mind about him, and they seemed to be at odds with each other. But the first two adjectives I came up with were, the first one was gentle. There was something always gentle about him. But secondarily, I thought, the next one I thought of was fierce. So to be gentle and fierce.
What was so impressive about him was his unwavering faith in the stances that he took. And he was just constantly, speaking up for the poor and the downtrodden and for people's rights. And he did it through his music, but he did it with great strength. And he was gentle about it. He was never strident.
He was.
You might sing loud, but that's not the same thing.
He was a principled man. And I'm trying to remember the thing where he parted company a few times with others because his principles simply wouldn't allow. So he was subpoenaed in 1955, of course, by the House Un-American Activities Committee, as so many good, upstanding American patriots were. And in his testimony, he said this: "I feel that in my whole life, I have never done anything of any conspiratorial nature." And I'm sure that's true. And then he went on to say, "I am not going to answer any questions as to my association, my philosophical or religious beliefs, or my political beliefs, or how I voted in any election, or any of these private affairs. I think these are very improper questions for any American to be asked, especially under such compulsion as this."
Good for him.
He then offered Susan to sing the songs that some of the congressmen had mentioned as being subversive. He said, "Let me sing them to you, and then you can tell me if you really think they're un-American." And, of course, the committee in its majesty declined the offer. I just want to give you some stuff that I got from the... He was indicted in 1957 on 10 counts of contempt of Congress. He was convicted, get this, in 1961 and sentenced to a year in prison. But an appeals court a year later dismissed the indictment. After that, his concerts were often picketed by the John Birch Society and right-wing groups. And as Seeger said, all those protests did was sell tickets. And
and records make people know, made him continue. I mean, if ever there was a guy that never lost his relevancy, it was him.
He was among the founders of the Newport Folk Festival. Of course, he wrote, I'm trying to think of Where Have All the Flowers? A lot of other people took his If I Had a Hammer, Where Have All the Flowers Gone? Turn, 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 which the Byrds did. Remember the old show Hootenanny?
Yep.
He was signed to a major label, Columbia Records, in '61, the year he was supposedly supposed to go to prison. But network television would not have him on. Hootenanny, a show in which ABC was attempting to capitalize on the folk music revival that Pete Seeger, in large part, had created, refused to book Seeger. And because Hootenanny wouldn't book Pete Seeger, other performers, including, and not surprisingly, Peter, Paul, and Mary, Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, also boycotted it. Hootenanny eventually offered to have Pete Seeger on if, get this, he would sign a loyalty oath. I needn't tell you that he refused. We Shall Overcome is his. Now, it came from a gospel song called I Will Overcome. And there were also some, he was very aware that some of because he was bringing up some of these old folk things and black music, he really was very uncomfortable capitalizing on what he thought he could capitalize as a white person on. That's, that the original, like he took Leadbelly's Good Night Irene and cleaned it up a little bit and made that a huge anthem. There's just some fascinating stuff in here. And he worked on environmental causes. He was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in '96, and he won gazillion Grammy Awards. I don't know. I can't tell you. He's been a huge influence on so many of the singers and songwriters that that have enriched our lives. Really a pretty amazing character. He, of course, traveled with Woody Guthrie and took on a lot of Guthrie and even rode the rails for a while, even though he had attended Harvard. He was not, Guthrie came up from dirt poor. Seeger came from very educated family, and he himself, as I said, went to Harvard. But he ended up riding the rails just, I guess, to experience life in that way. So, pretty amazing guy. Man, what a musical send-off that funeral's going to be, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would imagine, too.
And I'm thinking, again, just classic stuff. So he, Republicans going after him, trying to imprison him, suggesting he is some kind of a person who wants to take down the United States. And of course, Bill Clinton gives him the National Medal of Arts, given by the National Endowment of the Arts. And the Republicans always, I don't know about what it is with you guys. You always get it wrong. Amazing. Oh, Seeger left the Weavers, which was a group that he had founded.
Right.
And this is another one of his principled stands. Because the group, they had disbanded, but they periodically reunited in the 50s. And then when I guess some of them recorded an advertisement for Lucky Strike cigarettes, he left. He said, that's it. And this is in the 50s. How did he know that cigarettes were a bad thing when everybody else was smoking them up left and right? And so he got shut out, and he just went and he'd go to summer camps and do his thing. He toured coffee houses. He'd be on street corners. He didn't care. He just had to keep singing.
He led an Occupy Wall Street march in 2011.
Pretty amazing.
2 canes.
Yeah. Pretty amazing man, Pete Seeger. That's one of those guys that, the world is so much better off for him. Dorothea writes, I call him the voice of America's conscience. He was a loud voice for environmentalism, the anti-war movement, civil rights, among so many other things. I'm getting old. Sigh, Dorothea.
And his methods really were subversive because he got us singing his philosophy.
Yes.
I mean, we all understood. Everybody knows all of his songs and the words.
Little kids know his songs. And the thing is, they sound like they do sound like children's songs.
And they sound like they've always been here.
That's right. I mean, think of them. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. I'd hammer in the evening. Or where have all the flowers gone? I mean, just little, simple, wonderful songs. Chuck says there's a terrific documentary that was created a few years back called Pete Seeger, Power of Song. Any fan of Seeger should see it. The film won an Emmy, I think. And it was produced by his wife, who, Toshi, I think her name is, and she predeceased him, I believe, last year. Maybe that's what did him in. I don't know. Toshi Aline Ota Seeger. Strange name. I'm trying to figure out what Toshi Aline Ota, O-H-T-A. And I think he married her right after he came back from World War II, which he served in. Ansel writes, the one song that resonates with me when I hear Pete Seeger is his What Did You Learn in School Today? And Ansel gave us the lyrics. What did you learn in school today? I won't do the repetitions. Dear little boy of mine. I learned that Washington never told a lie. I learned that soldiers seldom die. I learned that everybody's free. And that's what the teacher said to me. What did you learn in school today, dear little boy of mine? That's what I learned. Well, I don't know. That's what I learned in school today. I learned that policemen are my friends. I learned that justice never ends. I learned that murderers die for their crimes, even if we make a mistake sometimes. That's what I learned in school today. What did you learn in school today, dear little boy of mine? I learned our government must be strong. It's always right and never wrong. Our leaders are the finest men, and we elect them again and again. What did you learn in school today, dear little boy of mine? I learned that war is not so bad. I learned about the great ones we've had. We fought in Germany and in France, and someday I might get my chance. What did you learn in school today? Ansel says these lyrics reflect what I consider to be the definitive Pete Seeger. Pretty good stuff. Amazing. Amazing.
Well, he knew how to make a point.
Gentle and fierce. Okay. Anybody else on Pete Seeger?
No, I just hope that somewhere amongst us rises up a voice that is capable of his, with as much knowledge of the human spirit and the way to make himself heard, and replaces.
Well, but they're out there. I mean, you think of, the people who today are really mourning him, who know him and who've worked with him, from Dylan to Springsteen to John Mellencamp. I'm thinking of like troubadour-y, mainstream people who he's been such an influence to so many of the people who are still really being listened to.
Right.
This Land, he performed This Land Is Your Land in 2009 with Bruce Springsteen. And in fact, Springsteen took the songs on it was 2006 album of We Shall Overcome, the Seeger sessions. Springsteen did an entire album and then performed with him at Obama's inaugural, Springsteen and Seeger. And at a Madison Square Garden concert that was celebrating Seeger's 90th birthday, Springsteen introduced Pete Seeger as a living archive of America's music and conscience, a testament of the power of song and culture to nudge history along. He recorded more than 100 albums, but he was never comfortable with being, with commercialism. And he didn't like celebrity. He tried to bring attention to the causes that he was moved to, but he didn't like being the center of attention. And in fact, when he was indoctrinated, is that what the word is? Into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I forget who it was who spoke for him. Let me see if I can find it. Arlo Guthrie, who paid tribute to him at the ceremony in 1996. And he said this about being inducted: I can't think of a single event in Pete's life that is probably less important to him. And that, there it is, in a nutshell. He didn't care about this stuff. And he made no acceptance speech. He let Arlo and other people speak for him, but he did lead a sing-along of Good Night, Irene, along with Stevie Wonder, David Byrne, and Jefferson Airplane. That's the 90s. Oh, man. It's a tough loss. But we had him for 94 years.
Yep. Can't be greedy.
No, that's really hard to beat. That's hard to beat. So, here's this other thing, Susan. I'm afraid to get you ranting, but after we come off the gentle, wondrous Mr. Seeger, and after I said something about Republicans always being on the wrong side, I was delighted to see that there was a federal judge who, I don't know when this was, I think it was late last week, declared that your great state was illegally
killing people?
No, that's something else. I know you're probably illegally killing people, but no, this had to do with that Missouri under the leadership of these Tea Party Republicans was illegally obstructing the activities of the federal government to inform consumers of their options under the Affordable Care Act.
Oh yeah. The only part of the United States Constitution that is enforced in Missouri is the Second Amendment. The rest of it is commie bull.
And is actively flouted.
It's illegal.
Yeah, they think it's illegal.
You have no First Amendment rights here, unless you're the Ku Klux Klan. Then you do have First Amendment.
So you know what? Here's what Missouri did. Here's what these SOBs did.
They made it illegal.
They made it essentially illegal to have these people who are navigators who help people get on and get their insurance. They're all over the place. They're everywhere. Organizations like, Planned Parenthood train their people to be these navigators. And what Missouri did is, of course, they did what they do to Planned Parenthood, these people. They put all these onerous restrictions on what you had to do to be one of these navigators, right?
Right.
And they even made it expensive to be a navigator. You had to get all of this training, and then you had to pay for the training, which was hundreds of dollars. And Missouri, as one of the states that did not create an insurance exchange.
And didn't take the money.
It didn't take the money. It is for...
Won't listen to its own Chamber of Commerce that's begging it to take the money.
And it has, get this, Missouri has forbidden state and local officials from cooperating with the federal exchange, which is now the only entry for Missouri residents into the Affordable Care Act. And they've made it...
their first foray into this sort of stuff. They have previously made it illegal to enforce federal gun laws.
You might have the most extraordinarily dangerous legislature, un-American legislature in the country. I don't know.
No, I have honestly, I really feel like my days in this state are numbered. I don't know how long I can continue to live here. Yeah. I really don't. If only because I find it really frightening.
Well, because also you have to pay taxes to these SOBs.
Well, no, we don't. We don't pay taxes.
Oh, I see. They don't believe in taxes, so you really don't.
No, they keep cutting our taxes. We also have the second to the last funding, educational funding. We have, we're just trying to turn ourselves into the most backward state there is.
Well, it seems like you're doing a good law.
Yeah, we're doing a really fine job.
I'm sorry, I said law. It said that this particular law prevents these counselors and from doing. Here's what the judge said: the Missouri law prevents counselors from doing the very things they're supposed to do under the federal law, like providing consumers with information about the strengths and weaknesses of different health plans, including those sold in the private insurance market outside the exchange.
Right.
It's just flat out illegal.
It actually criminalizes anyone who's trying to sell you health insurance.
Jeez. Isn't it awful?
They are such yahoos.
Unbelievable.
I swear that 9 out of every 10 pieces of legislation that manages to pass Missouri is unconstitutional within 6 months.
Yeah. You know what? I've started seeing it. It seems like about every once a month you see federal judge declares Missouri law unconstitutional. That's why when I started saying this, you weren't sure which one I was talking about.
You got a Chinese menu full of them.
I know. I think my state's backward. It is, but jeez, wow. See how much worse it can be? It could be.
The only thing I can say is we don't pay our yahoos as much as you pay yours.
Oh, no, and that's disgusting. So, listen, it could be worse, and it could be colder, and all that stuff. You just keep all of that in mind. Okay?
Okay.
Suze, thank you.
You're welcome.
I enjoyed our conversation.
Me too.
Okay, stay warm.
Bye.
Bye. As for the rest of you, see you Wednesday, I think. Is that tomorrow? Yeah. What year is it? Who am I? But you remember, I'm really smart.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.